The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to SarahTalk. It's political.
Whatever the condition is in their home country is so bad that they're willing to go through that long, arduous trek to get here, where we've promised this American dream idea. The least we could do is when they knock on our door or help them.
Critical.
When was the last time a Christian was allowed to have a separate place to say their prayers? Look, you can literally bow your head at your fucking desk. You're like, why did he get the thing and I didn't get the thing? You didn't ask for the thing!
And positively LGBT positive.
Look, and whenever there's someone coming after my community, they are either wearing a MAGA hat, carrying a Bible, or more often both.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
What the hell is in Idaho?
Potatoes.
Anyway? You could take a drill a
Drill up
hole
a
in a
potato
potato and fuck
you'd
a
be
potato.
fine.
Would you marry a potato though? Could that be okay?
No, but you wouldn't have to marry a potato because a potato doesn't need consent for you to fuck it.
And now, from Haines City, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to SarahTalk. I feel like shit.
You sound like it.
Thanks. We've been sick all week. Becca got it, early in the week or last weekend?
Well, wait,
And
I
you
went on
had
the
it for
field
like
trip
4
on
days.
Thursday,
Oh, that's right.
but it started with a migraine on Tuesday.
Yeah,
It's Tuesday, Wednesday, I had a migraine.
Yeah.
Thursday, went on the field trip. Bad idea. And then I stayed in bed for like 4 days after the field trip.
Yep. And then she started getting better. And then I got it. Yay! So there may be extra cough breaks tonight, and our apologies for that. And our apologies for the late start. We may... God, I don't know how we're going to do this with this child. This child does not want to go to sleep.
Well, sometimes she's fine.
Yeah.
Most of the time she's fine. but
Right.
Every now and then. Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
Let's see.
Yep.
Well, her new thing is because now the minute she pees in her pull-up,
Oh, yeah. It's wet.
I'm wet.
Take it off. Yeah.
So, like, I think that was a big problem. Like, she was almost asleep, and then she peed, and she had to get a new diaper. Oh, my God, just go to sleep.
So my Facebook feed is full of angry women. And that tells me a couple of things: that the Facebook algorithm is working correctly. It's been listening to me talk, apparently, through my phone. It's been keeping track of the things that I'm looking at. And that I'm friends with all the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that more again, because you didn't get to partake in that last week. And there's more. Of course there's more. But first, breaking news as we came to air tonight. A Republican congressman, Justin Amash, has broken ranks and come out against Donald Trump.
Whoa.
He tweeted this afternoon, and it has now gone viral. Here are my principal conclusions. Number 1, Attorney General Barr has deliberately misrepresented Mueller's report. Number 2, President Trump has engaged in impeachable conduct. Number 3, partisanship has eroded our system of checks and balances. Number 4, few members of Congress have read the report. He goes on to say, I offer these conclusions only after having read Mueller's redacted report carefully and completely, having read or watched pertinent statements and testimony, and having discussed this matter with my staff, who thoroughly reviewed materials and provided me with further analysis. In comparing Barr's principal conclusions, congressional testimony, and other statements to Mueller's report, it is clear that Barr intended to mislead the public about Special Counsel Robert Mueller's analysis and findings. Barr's misrepresentations are significant but often subtle, frequently taking the form of sleight-of-hand qualifications or logical fallacies, which he hopes people will not notice. Under our Constitution, the President, quote, shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors, end quote. While high crimes and misdemeanors is not defined, the context implies conduct that violates the public's trust. Contrary to Barr's portrayal, Mueller's report reveals that President Trump engaged in specific actions and a pattern of behavior that meet the threshold for impeachment. In fact, Mueller's report identifies multiple examples of conduct satisfying all of the elements of obstruction of justice, and undoubtedly any person who is not the President of the United States would be indicted based on such evidence. Impeachment, which is a special form of indictment, does not even require probable cause that a crime, like obstruction of justice, has been committed. It simply requires a finding that an official has engaged in careless, abusive, corrupt, or otherwise dishonorable conduct. Thank you, Republican Representative Justin Amash, for that brilliant analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that. I'm going to have to move the dog out of the room.
Yeah, you are. She's
Also,
going to drive me
Dan,
crazy.
Dan, I guess, is having problems with the feed. Anybody else? Mine seems to be working okay, but I don't know if that's...
Yeah, but also we're not listening to it.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's the House, right? And the House isn't the issue so much as the Senate, in that the House can bring the articles of impeachment, but unless the you're evil. That's funny. So to get the dog out of the room, she just found a dog toy laying on the floor and chucked it out through the door. She didn't want to go. But the Senate would have to act and in removal, and that's just not going to happen. But I don't know if there was a time for more. How many times have I said this? If ever there was a time for more Republicans to stand up and say, "This is not my Republican Party. This is not the party that I stand for."
Yeah.
And the things that are happening here are very troubling. You need some more of those in the Senate.
Yeah.
Where you need them.
Yeah, absolutely. Where they can actually.
But anyway, that just dropped. So I thought that was interesting.
Everybody else seems to have no problems.
Okay, good.
Dan.
Maybe there's just something in Arizona. Maybe they marked our show as pornography.
Oh,
and
no.
because Arizona was trying to make it a public health crisis or whatever.
Oh my
right?
gosh, that's funny.
Okay, so before we get into the abortion topic again tonight, I was on another podcast. I did an interview with Left at the Valley, and I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Those guys are really cool, and if things get worse, I know I have a home in Canada that I can go and get some fresh hot Timmies and watch some hockey. And
I said that to somebody the other day.
Canada?
No.
Oh.
About, if things keep going the way they're going, we're looking at Canada.
Yeah.
And the person just kind of looked at me like dumbfounded, like, what? And I'm like, you need to pay more attention, honey.
Clearly.
Well.
Okay, so why don't you talk?
What do you want me to talk about?
Well, you have a uterus.
Oh.
You should.
Oh, okay.
You should talk.
Oh my God. I don't know what you like. I'm in agreement with 90% of the people on my Facebook feed. I don't believe that government should be anywhere near regulating my uterus. I wish they would regulate guns more than they seem to want to regulate women's bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's alarming to me, and what's more alarming than anything that's going on as far as legislation right now are the pockets, I will call them pockets, of women who are so anti-abortion that they can't even look at this from the perspective of this isn't about the abortion itself. This is about the fact that they're not even going to leave it up to me to make that choice for myself. They want to make that choice for me.
Right.
And no room for any, like no exceptions. And, but there are some women out there that just, it's like banging my head against the wall.
Yeah.
To hear their,
when you think that life begins at conception, when you think that the minute the cell divides, this is now a baby, this is now a human life. When that's your worldview, and I lived in that worldview for a long time, when that's your view, then abortion is murder, and they see it as protecting an innocent victim from a murder.
Right.
And I try to remind myself to like think back to that worldview and what I thought about it. And I don't think that way anymore.
No.
And I don't know what changed it. I don't know how I got beyond that.
Yeah, I for me, there was a lot of things that kind of hit home. And trying to figure out how I came to the opinions that I hold now. And a friend of mine, hold on, let me see if I can find it, because he made a post and I sat there and I read it and I cried. And hold on, let me see, where is he?
It's fascinating radio.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of what his name is. He's got one of those weird names that it's not his actual. Oh my gosh. But it was he grew up in the same religion I did. So it was like, yeah, that makes sense. The way he was able to formulate his words is very what's the word? He's more see, this is bad. I'm proving my point right there. He can formulate words better than I can to express his feelings. What's the word for that, Sarah?
You're talking now. I'm just waiting for you.
God, you're horrible. You're just making me talk because you don't want to talk.
Because if I talk, I'm going to cough.
Yeah,
that's the deal.
True.
In fact, I'll just give you my notes here.
Oh my
and you
God,
can...
seriously?
Yeah.
Okay, so here, let me try to read it.
Okay.
I guess he got into a online debate with everybody. He's in Missouri, so all the stuff that's going on up there, hot topics, right? But he said, I guess somebody asked him if he would support the death penalty for rapists.
Okay.
After he voiced his opinions about all of these non-exemptions or
okay,
for rape victims that aren't going to be allowed to have abortions now. He said, you asked if I would support the death penalty for convicted rapists since I'm pro-choice. To give you the best answer possible, I need to tell you something that is very difficult for me. Anyway, he goes on to tell a story. 25 years ago, my life changed. And he says, a young woman I love very much was conceived. Her mother was held down by two men while a third one raped and impregnated her. Her mother made the choice to keep her, and I'm very happy she did, but it cost her dearly. The religious community we were part of shunned and shamed her for being unwed and pregnant. She has flashbacks of the incident and nightmares, yet people didn't see that. They only saw a promiscuous young 17-year-old girl who got knocked up. The fine, upstanding men of the congregation, including my own father, did nothing to help, and that was one of my first major epiphanies on why I had to leave the Jehovah's Witness cult. I'm a firm believer in justice, and there was no justice in this circumstance. I came back to seek justice. I guess he wasn't living there at the time. And as luck would have it, wound up falling in love with this young woman. I was there for her and supported her through the pregnancy, even though it meant I was also labeled and reproved by the religious congregation. Due to this, I can tell you things you might not understand. The decision to abort or not is never an easy choice. As I said, she chose to carry the child and raise her. I'm very happy she did. We were engaged to be married and listed my name as father on the birth certificate. The night the baby girl was born, I realized I had never loved anyone so much, and I vowed to create a world where she would never be faced with the same trauma her mother endured. And then he says, still, I'm a man who stands ground after he, talked about all of his faults and stuff, and will defend those who need me. I'm a father who will do everything in my power to protect any of my children. I'm a voice that will speak up, even if the opinion may not be popular, because I can't be anything else. That little girl and all the women out there who are someone else's little girl deserve better than that. They deserve a voice that will speak for them and protect their rights. So you asked me a question, and now I'm ready to give you an answer. Yes, I will fully support the death penalty for rapists, and I'll go one further and throw child molesters in there as well. This is a reply to a legislator in Missouri. So he called him out. He said, you legislate it and give me the go-ahead. And as I said yesterday, I'd be happy to pull the trigger. So it just gave me an interesting perspective. I never really thought of that before.
Yeah.
Because I was never in that situation.
Right.
But I did always have that, abortion is bad.
Oh, yeah.
But I just feel like that can't be the end all. Yeah, I don't think it's ever easy to make that decision.
No.
And I'm fortunate that I've never had to. But if I was in that position where I had to make that decision, I know that I would take it seriously. And these people that act like anybody who would even consider abortion are just murderers.
Yeah.
It just sickens me that you can't look at the bigger picture and see
right
the seriousness and that no, women don't just that's not a form of birth control. That's not,
right.
There aren't people that just go out and have abortion after abortion after abortion because they don't want to have babies.
Yep.
Anyway.
That's an interesting juxtaposition with the death penalty.
Right. I thought so too. When I read it, I was like, whoa. So I had to go back and reread all the conversations.
Yeah.
But
because again, I can see if from a worldview where abortion is murder, then if you were to say, well, no, I don't support the death penalty. Aha! Gotcha!
Right?
Because I don't see that as murder, and I don't support the death penalty. What I will say is, it's bullshit to have a law that punishes a woman up to 99 years or whatever, a much longer sentence for having an abortion than for the potential time served for the dude who raped her.
Right.
That I have a problem with.
Yeah. And,
And
I think all rapists should be jailed. I think they should all be castrated. But that's an opinion of a woman who was abused.
Right.
So
and it's an emotional response that one would expect.
Right.
Yes.
And if I look at my children and I think if they were ever attacked,
sure.
I don't know that I do know that I would feel the same exact way.
Mm-hmm.
You put a finger on my child and you don't have their consent, now you're going to deal with me. So, but I think that my views on that come from a place where I've dealt with these kinds of situations and not everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to put yourself in that situation when you've never been there. The only thing I can say is if you don't understand that situation, try to look at it through the eyes of somebody that you love. Imagine your mother, or imagine your sister, or imagine your child. And if that doesn't stir an emotion in you to make you really contemplate where your values and viewpoints on these subjects are, then I don't know what to tell you.
We had an interaction with somebody in one of the groups who was a pro-life woman, and And I had such a hard time because I wanted to engage and have try to have a conversation about it using street epistemology and digging in a little deeper, respectfully. And it's going to take us a while to teach our community how important it is to not dogpile on people when they come into the room with a different view. And that's hard, especially when it's some super core, serious thing that's integral to your identity. And when you're in a group where people agree on so atheists don't agree on it. We agree on one thing, right? Probably not a God. And everything else is up in the air. Because atheism doesn't tell you how to think or where to find a moral compass or in any of that stuff, right? Many of us would insert humanism there. But so then you have a group of people who agree on one thing and they get in a room and a hot topic comes up. And where there's disagreement, we all need to learn not to dogpile. We all need to learn not to, if the majority of us agree on one position in that debate, not to attack the one person who's come into the room.
Because I was moving.
To, with an opposite opinion, right? And so, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to have that conversation. That opportunity didn't come up. And I wish it had. Because I want to know, where does that stance come from? Because to me, I think if you have an anti-abortion stance and you believe that is killing a baby, the only place I can think of that comes from is religion. That viewpoint comes from. I'm going to try to refocus the camera on something here.
Sorry,
That's
guys.
all fucked up.
I had to go shut the dog up, and now the camera's being weird.
But so I wanted to get in and have that conversation and find out, where did you get that viewpoint? Where did you come to the understanding that that's a life and you'd be killing it?
Right.
And if it was from an old religious belief, if there's a way to help you see that so that you can reflect and maybe, review your position on things, then I think we should be able to do that, but we need to be able to do that in a respectful way. Basically, that's that.
What in the world is going on with the camera?
I don't know. You fucked it all up.
Well, I didn't mean to.
I'm going to have so much editing.
You are already going to have so much editing to do. Pick up the unicorn. And
you think that'll work?
It's closer to the camera. There you go. Look, it worked. Magical unicorn. Told
wow. You're good.
Yeah.
You're hired.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
So, do you know...
No, I don't know.
When things like this come up, I often think to myself, whose opinion, after yours, of course, because your opinion is the most important.
That's right.
Whose opinion on a topic like this would I want to hear? Who's going to have just the deep, insightful, thoughtful things to say about this issue?
George Carlin. Oh, fuck.
Other news, I think Alabama has gone too far. They've passed a law that would give a 99-year prison sentence to people who could commit abortion. There's no exception for rape or incest. It's an extreme law, and they want to challenge Roe versus Wade. But my humble view is that this is not the case we want to bring to the Supreme Court, because I think this one will lose.
Holy shit.
What the?
Holy shit.
Did Armageddon come last night and I missed it?
Pat Robertson, of all people on the 700-year-old club, spoke out.
Shit.
There's more.
I mean, I was being cheeky because I posted that thing about George Carlin's.
No, that was a good one.
Skit. I love him.
John Jessup has more.
Thanks, Pat. The bill that you're talking about, which bans nearly all abortions, now goes to the state's pro-life governor. As Charlene Aaron reports, it's aimed at challenging Roe v. Wade at the Supreme Court.
After a contentious debate, the Alabama Senate passed a bill banning most abortions in the state. The bill provides no exemptions except in cases where there's a serious health risk to the unborn child's mother. It also makes performing an abortion a felony. Supporters are hoping appeals will take it to the Supreme Court to challenge the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, which legalized abortion nationwide.
We were trying to keep it just as it was to address the issue that Roe versus Wade was decided on, which is that baby in the womb a person.
I apologize to the women of Alabama for this archaic law that we passed.
Alabama follows a handful of states that have recently enacted laws banning abortion if a fetal heartbeat is detected, usually as early as 6 weeks. Abortion supporters are stepping up the fight on the state level. Lawmakers in Vermont voting to amend the state constitution to protect abortion at any stage of pregnancy for any reason. Pro-lifers say gains in the pro-life movement have abortion advocates in Vermont and elsewhere worried.
There's an optimism in the pro-life movement and a pessimism now in the pro-abortion movement. They're seeing the changes at the federal level, especially with the Supreme Court. They're seeing the actions that President Trump is doing, and they're seeing after 47 years of Roe v. Wade and the devastation that it's caused.
Republican Governor Kay Ivey says she wants to thoroughly review the bill before signing it into law.
And then she signed it into law.
Oh, this nonsense. And can I just point out, just in case anybody isn't aware, so 6 weeks pregnant is usually only 4 weeks after conception. Also, interesting point of fact, heartbeats can usually be detected before you ever test positive on a pregnancy test.
I have seen people argue that what you're detecting is not a heartbeat, though it sounds like one. It's evidence of activity.
Right.
But under strict medical language, that wouldn't really be considered a heartbeat. I've heard people argue that at end of life, the heartbeat isn't what determines your death. It's brain activity, and that when brain activity ceases, the heartbeat continues to beat for a little bit or whatever. And I'm not a medical. I think that's all missing the point. I think that's all arguing the semantics and trying to it's in the weeds. I really think so. Now here's the part I actually wanted to play. I didn't intend to play that whole report.
You're fired.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
And Pat, even though Governor Ivey wants to review the law, many suspect that she will sign it into law.
Well, I think it's ill-considered. I think we ought to do it, but Roe versus Wade was a put-up case. It was a phony case. Norma McCovey, who was the plaintiff, has disavowed her role in the whole thing. It was an ACLU job that depended on the so-called right of privacy that went back to a Connecticut case. And it was called Blackmun's abortion. It was so badly conceived. But nevertheless, it didn't just ban abortion in the first trimester, which is what Roe versus Wade said. It's been expanded to anything having to do with abortion, anything that would stop a woman from having abortion. And I was so shocked when Hillary Clinton, in that debate with Donald Trump, said she was for partial birth abortion. And partial birth means that the baby is actually has left the birth canal and is partially being presented as a human being, and a doctor can then punch holes in the child's skull and suck its brains out.
Okay, so we looked up what Hillary had to say on this issue. And this is a quote from the October 19th, 2016 presidential debate. What about the issue of late-term partial birth abortions? Clinton says, Roe v. Wade very clearly sets out that there can be regulations on abortion so long as the life and the health of the mother are taken into account. The kinds of cases that fall at the end of pregnancy are often the most heartbreaking, painful decisions for families to make. I have met with women who, toward the end of their pregnancy, get the worst news one could get, that their health is in jeopardy if they continue to carry to term, or that something terrible has just been discovered about the pregnancy. I do not think the United States government should be stepping in and making those most personal of decisions. So you can regulate if you are doing so with the life and health of the mother taken into account. That's what Hillary had to say at the debate he's speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then Trump says, if you go with what Hillary is saying, in the 9-month, you can rip out the baby in the womb of the mother just prior to the birth of the baby. No, that's not what she said at all. Poking holes in its little skull. The fuck?
And ripping the baby out of the mother in the 9th month of pregnancy is called a C-section. I've had 2 of them.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
That's partial birth, and she was in favor of that and wouldn't want any restriction on that.
Nope.
Now, that's how extreme they are, and I'm afraid that the Vermont bill might have the same kind of effect. It's not something that we want to deal with. I think it's time that we stop. We've aborted over 60 million babies since Roe versus Wade, and the restrictions on any kind of restriction of abortion have been extraordinary. But the Alabama case, God bless them, they're trying to do something, but I don't think that's the case that I'd want to bring to the Supreme Court. John?
So let me just remind you, cut through all the old people in the air. What he's saying is, he's not saying I don't like this bill. I think it's too restrictive on its face. What he's saying is this bill is too restrictive and it's not going to pass the test that we're trying to get past, which is send one of these bills up to the Supreme Court and have them determine that life begins at conception and Roe v. Wade is overturned.
Right.
That's all he's saying. All he's saying is this isn't the one.
Right.
Ban abortion, yes, but this is not the bill that needs to go to the Supreme Court. He doesn't have trust in the conservative wing of the Supreme Court to rule on that. That's all he's saying here. And clearly, again, when you look at the way people respond to this thing, at all of these bills that are passing, it's so much old white men. And I'm not trying to, nothing is a monolith. I get it. And yes, I understand that Kay Ivey, and the legislator that filed this bill is a woman and was pushing for it. And Kay Ivey's a woman and signed it. And yes, so there are women who are problematic in this too. But I wonder how much of that, I wonder how much free will they really have when it comes to this, and how much comes from indoctrination and but so much old dudes talking about something they have no business talking about.
I brought her back in and she was whining too much. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Lay down and be good. And lucky for Pat, there are other states who've passed bans too, so they can pick one and see which ones. And the ACLU has already come out and said that they're going to they're going to push back on this. Now, Pat isn't the only one speaking from the right wing on this. Speaking of problematic women, Fox News commentator Tomi Lahren, who is on the crazy right, but pretty moderate, actually, when it comes to abortion, which, let me just say, that's what I would expect from Republican women.
Yeah.
I don't understand the KIVs who have no problem signing these bills at the expense of their identity as a woman. I just don't. I can't wrap my head around that. Lahren was fired from Glenn Beck's garbage program in 2017 after saying, quote, "I'm pro-choice and here's why. I'm for limited government. So stay out of my guns and you can stay out of my body as well." Okay, that's almost rational. At least her viewpoints agree with each other. At least her line of thinking follows through. I'm not necessarily in favor of an expansive government either, but I do expect the government to protect the marginalized minorities when our rights are being taken away. Well, Tomi took to Twitter this week to say, quote, "I will be attacked by fellow conservatives for saying this, but so be it. This Alabama abortion ban is too restrictive. It doesn't save life. It simply forces women into more dangerous methods, other states or countries. You don't encourage life via blanket government mandate." End quote. And attacked by conservatives she was.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. There are people on the right who love to talk about how, like, the liberals eat their own.
Mm-hmm.
But come on, like, y'all do it too.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, in the green hemp pastures of California, Hollywood strikes back. After Georgia's abortion ban was signed into law, 3 production companies said they will no longer film in Georgia. And Georgia is actually used as a filming location pretty often.
Yeah, we're actually going there.
They have really good tax incentives for this filming. Black Panther, The Walking Dead, and Stranger Things have all been shot there. Of course, the 3 companies barely make a ripple in the puddle, but their message shouldn't be dismissed. One of those messages came from David Simon, who created The Wire and now runs Blown Deadline Productions, who tweeted, "I can't ask any female member of any film production with which I am involved to so marginalize themselves or compromise their inalienable authority over their own bodies. I must undertake production where the rights of all citizens remain intact. Other filmmakers will see this. Our comparative assessments of locations for upcoming development will pull Georgia off the list until we can be assured the health options and civil liberties of our female colleagues are unimpaired." That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Friday, my childhood Who's the Boss crush, Alyssa Milano, you're the boss, Alyssa,
Shut up.
called for women.
So disgusting.
Called for women to she was a childhood crush. That's it. Called for women to launch a sex strike in protest, which caught a shitstorm of backlash. Writing in an opinion article on CNN, Milano said, "A sex strike is a way to target straight cisgender men so they may feel the physical consequences of our reproductive rights being systematically eliminated." She acknowledged the reaction was mixed, but that it got the country talking about the GOP's undeniable war on women. Critics like Andy Zeisler tweeted, "I know this is well-meaning, but the whole entire point of these horrifying laws is to punish women for daring to have and enjoy non-procreative sex. You think people who already believe women have no right to their own bodies are going to respect partners who say no?" And Shannon Watts, who said, "A sex strike won't bring back our rights. Voting, supporting women candidates running for office, and fighting like hell will." Milano said, of course, the sex strike should be a part of a broader strategy of coordinated action, but is just one tool available in the fight for reproductive justice. And she points out several historical cases where women employed sex strikes. Iroquois women in the 1600s protesting unregulated warfare didn't stop until their demands were met. In 2009, activists in Kenya organized a sex strike to force an end to the deteriorating relationship between the president and prime minister. That strike lasted 7 days, ending when the leaders finally agreed to talks. And in 2011, Colombian women used a sex strike to get a dangerous 35-mile road repaired. Yes, it signals that you're admitting that men have all the power and you're withholding your body from them until they act. I get that. I understand that. But many people are finding different ways to make their voices heard during this honestly frightening time, and I'm not sure this is the time to be fucking pedantic and nitpick every little goddamn thing. So protest however you feel most comfortable, but act and fucking vote. Always vote. I don't know. What do you think of this sex strike? Do you...
Well, it doesn't affect me much.
Well, me either.
I mean, no, like, seriously. Okay, so fine. Sex strike. Let's just say, let's go with it.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are in positions of power to make changes, I don't think they're getting any anyway. They're a bunch of old white guys. Like,
well, and the ones in the legislature are getting caught with mistresses who do get abortions.
Right. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's maybe it's a good way to bring awareness to the public.
Right. And that's kind of what she was trying to say. Was like, look, here now you're all talking about it.
Right. But it's like, is it really going to make it? I don't know that it's going to make a difference.
No.
Because the people that are outraged about any of this are the people that are worried about the women who didn't have a choice in having sex.
Yep.
They were forced upon. And now they have this pregnancy to deal with. And, like that, I think that's I don't know. It's just so much bullshit.
And so before I finish, let me just remind you all that these laws are not going into effect, really. They're going to be enjoined. They're going to have the ACLU file lawsuits. And again, the intent of these laws was never to actually take away rights. It was to get the Supreme Court to take away your rights.
Right.
So, so be angry and start now, because the fight is just getting started. And God help Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So finally, let me say this, and then we'll take a break. I've been considering a lot of the arguments and information that's out there, and my social media has gone nuts the last couple of days. Looks like you're playing with yourself.
I know.
On the video.
Yeah. Playing tug of war with the puppy.
She's not, but if she was, that would be okay too.
Ouch.
So, and that's where here's where I think I land, given the data. Okay. One of the things that I found interesting, sort of after the fact, is how well this position fits into the vision statement that we created for the atheist community of Polk County. So let me read that. The ACPC envisions a world in which evidence, reason, and critical thinking, rather than religious dogma, are the foundations of public policy and education, where religious beliefs are no longer an excuse for bigotry and discrimination, or given special treatment from the government. That's the vision that we have for the future, and this is not an official production of the, right? This is, but here's the thing: whether you consider yourself pro-choice or pro-life, or maybe you're against abortion because you know that the stress and trauma a woman often goes through just to get access to that type of care. Or maybe you think abortion is bad because it's murdering babies, but you also think that the government shouldn't be involved. Like, wherever you are on this debate, if you want to decrease abortions, here's what the evidence says you should be fighting for. First, prevent unwanted pregnancies, right? That requires comprehensive sex education that starts early and continues throughout education. It can't be abstinence only. It can't be a one-semester health class, and it has to include LGBTQ-specific content. We have to get over this, we feel icky about sex, and, you know, my parents gave me the sex talk, and it was really awkward, and so now I don't know how to talk to my kids. Grow the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Free birth control. And cishet men, you have to take your responsibility here too. Your aversion to condoms is a fucking problem. You cause 100% of unwanted pregnancies. Take responsibility. Accessible, affordable health care as a preventative and providing quality prenatal care to every pregnant person, which leads us from prevention into support. Make childcare affordable. When we've created a society that requires every adult in a household to be working, sometimes 2 jobs in order to pay the bills, who's taking care of the kids? And when you're considering looking down the barrel of the I'm about to have a kid, that's something that you have to consider. Who's paying for the child care? People complain all the time, especially on the right, about the breakdown of the family. And unrestrained capitalism is the problem. When childcare is so expensive and there's no option for one parent to stay home and raise children, you're contributing to an environment where people are scared to even have kids. And while you're at it, you should be for mandatory paid parental leave for both parents. Then, if you really give a fuck about the life of the unborn, you'd better be prepared to help fund WIC and food stamps and welfare, because you don't get to say, I care about that life until it's born, and then turn around and say, well, you shouldn't have had sex if you couldn't care for this child. You should have gotten a better education. You need to work harder. Maybe you should take a second job. It's not my responsibility. No, the well-being of all individuals must be the responsibility of the society as a whole. That traditional family stuff you love so fucking much, that included the community caring for its people. Make adoption more accessible. If you really give a fuck about life, you have to stop allowing religious adoption agencies to refuse to adopt out to gay or black or non-Christian parents because of your shitty religious beliefs. See, here's the thing. All the evidence, all the data shows us that banning abortion doesn't decrease abortions. It makes them less safe. It makes them dangerous. And it shows us that if we get over our own bullshit hang-ups and weird feelings about sex and implement early intervention, educating our youth about sex using medically proven, evidence-based information, providing free birth control to those educated youth, that reduces unwanted pregnancies, which reduces abortion rates. This isn't even about abortion. It's not about life. It's about compassion and empathy and care, all the things you claim to hold virtuous. And if you're going to say you care about human life, that's where you should start. Until then, it's obvious to me that your compassion or care is only surface deep, if not disingenuous, and you're making everything fucking worse for fucking everyone. Let's take a break. When we come back, there's one more stop in Crazy Town, and we'll do a Florida man. After this, you're listening to SarahTalk.
Hello, my friends. This is Sister Mary Atheist of the Church of Religious Avoidance down here in Bumblefuck, Alabama. Now, my friends, my people, my brothers and sisters, do you feel lost? Do you feel that swelling urge to be a part of something better? Well, let the word of SarahTalk help you. If you've never known the word SarahTalk, learn it, live it, love it. Can I get an amen? No? Good, 'cause we don't do that shit round here. My friends, we must all remember that the good word of SarahTalk doesn't happen for free. So get yourself over to patreon.com/SarahTalk and help us spread the word. Plant that seed and help it grow into secular, peer-reviewed empirical evidence for the good of all. In the name of the Sarah, the Bakker, and the science-based podcast, amen, hallelujah, and holy shit.
You let Jesus into your heart. Now it's time to bring him into your home with Flat Jesus. Take photos of Flat Jesus in questionable situations and share with the hashtag FlatJesus. Take pictures of Flat Jesus watching the Smurfs on TV. Hang him on a cross. He won't mind. Flat Jesus on your 3-year-old's toddler potty reading the Quran? That's fucking hilarious. But don't wait, apostates. Download your very own Flat Jesus right now at SarahTalk.com/Jesus. That's SarahTalk.com/Jesus now for your free Flat Jesus. The Bible says the earth is flat. Maybe Jesus was too.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
It was tough at first, but I did it. I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked my teacher.
I asked my dad. You can do this.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Ask for help.
Hey everyone, this is Dan Hogan from Mesa, Arizona, and thanks for listening to SarahTalk Podcast. You know, you're privileged to listen to the show. Not everyone gets to listen. I mean, the dead are not allowed to listen. They don't know what they're missing. Do you know why? Because they're dead. But if you're alive and listening, thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Welcome back to Sarah Talk. I am Sarah Austin in the studio with my lovely wife, Becca.
Hello.
Before we move on, we will, of course, want to thank our wonderful patrons. This show would not be possible without you. And we want to welcome a new patron.
Ooh.
David!
Yay!
Thank you, David. We appreciate your patronage, your support very much.
Yeah.
And for as little as $1 an episode, you can join David and all of our great patrons at patreon.com/SarahTalk. Or you can support the show for free by leaving a 5-star review on Apple, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to the show. And share the episodes out with someone who's pro-life. Especially today. Okay, so before we depart Crazy Town here, we have to drop by Jim Bakker's house.
Pat Robertson wasn't enough.
Oh, look, Lance Wallnau is here. Lance, you might remember, famously predicted the election of Trump. The legend goes, Wallnau was scrolling through Facebook and saw a meme that predicted Trump's presidency. Or, you know, he took a 50-50 shot and flipped a coin. Coin, you say? Well, yes. For $45, Wallnau and Bakker will sell you a Trump Cyrus coin that you can use as a point of contact between you and God as you pray for Trump's re-election in 2020.
I think I just threw up in my soul.
How many of you have been praying all across America? How many of you have been praying? This coin is our point of contact. When I asked the Lord why the coin, the Lord said, because when you take the coin, it's a point of contact. So your faith is being released with 1 million other believers to pray protection and peace and wisdom and counsel over the President of the United States and over his family. It's our point of contact every day when you see it. Remember, God put something in your hand that you have a role in. That's why we've got to pray, because they think we're crazy.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I don't think. No.
But we're actually the sane ones.
Right. That's
right.
And
so we're praying, we're going to pray. The teaching that is here, this coin as a point of contact, this 24-karat gold-plated coin. And by the way, I couldn't copy the Sanhedrin model. I told them I would do an original. So we found a nicer picture of the president to use. So we have our own version of it. But what we want to do is we want to be able to start, Jim, this movement. We've got 16 months. This battle for the future of America has already started. 16 to 18 months. We're already in it. We're in the battle right now. We need to be praying now and not captive to gloom or anxiety or fear, but channeling our optimism in the direction of God's begun a miracle. Let's keep that miracle going.
Whew. That on the coin is Cyrus and Trump.
Oh.
Now, Cyrus, of course, is the biblical character credited for fulfilling a prophecy of ending a 70-year captivity of the Jews by allowing them to return to Israel. And crazies be crazy, these yahoos have decided that Trump is a lot like Cyrus. Speaking of Yahoo, Benjamin Netanyahu was among the people comparing Trump to the ancient Persian leader due to Trump's policy winks affecting the Jewish community and Israel. According to the Bible, Cyrus was a secular political leader that God used to send the exiled kingdom of Judah back to the Promised Land so they could rebuild the city of Jerusalem and its holy temple. The $45 price point on the coin isn't a coincidence. Part of this prophecy appears in Isaiah 45. So let's turn to Isaiah 45:1 for tonight's Bible study.
This is what Jehovah says to his anointed ones, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have taken hold of, to subdue nations before him, to disarm kings, to open before him the double doors, so that the gates will not be shut.
That's not too far off from the English Standard Version, which I put in my notes.
Well, let me see how different it is between the JW versions. Just out of curiosity. Because, you know. Oh.
Okay.
Then I may.
Oh, did they change a word? Scandal.
Okay, wait. I got it. Hold on. What does it say? To subdue nations before him, to disarm kings.
Mm-hmm.
It says to subdue nations before him, so that I may ungird even the hips of kings to open before him.
Oh.
Oh, that sounds.
Which one's the older one?
This one.
Oh, so the older one is the sluttier one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
The English Standard Version says, "This is what the Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I take hold of, to subdue nations before him, and to strip kings of their armor, to open doors before him, so that the gates will not be shut." Basically, saying it's not too far off. Well, if you've gotten ahead of us, you've surely by now figured out that this $45 coin, which promotes the Trump-Cyrus prophecy narrative found in Isaiah 45, honors Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States. You see, that day early in the 2016 presidential campaign when Wallnau saw a Facebook meme predicting Trump's presidency, he realized he would be the 45th president. So he flipped open his Bible to Isaiah 45, and now he's decided to cash in on his fucking crazy with a $45 coin depicting an image of Cyrus and Trump together with Isaiah 45:1 printed on the back.
Wait.
The numbers don't lie, kids. Listen, I don't know about you, but I'm convinced. Totally convinced. Biblical numerology. It's a thing. I believe it now. I believe!
You're full of shit.
Who are you looking up now?
Hold on.
Oh, who's the... Are you skipping ahead?
Yeah, okay, so the 46th president prophecy says, Bel bends down, Nebo stoops over, their idols are loaded on animals, on beasts of burden.
Okay. No, because...
Then I just started thinking beasts of burden.
Because the way this...
Oh my God.
Because the way this works is, it could be literally any 46 in the Bible.
Oh.
So you got to do a little work. A little research, or you have to just be able to pull it out of your brain.
All right, I'll do some research. I'll find the next president.
Yes, you should totally make a prophecy. Yeah.
I'll find a prophecy for next week.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
That'd be hilarious.
Finally, before
I don't have enough on my plate now that I have Florida Man.
Well, and before the Florida Man, my last story from him at Meta at the Friendly Atheist, who thanks again for promoting our group a little bit. That's pretty
really
awesome.
Cool.
He says, here's all you need to know about Pastor David Richards. He repeatedly raped his adopted daughter starting when she was just 14 years old. She finally told authorities when she was 16. He denied doing anything wrong, though his semen was found on her bed frame.
Whoa.
A jury found him guilty on 9 felony counts, including rape, incest, and sexual battery earlier this year. Richards faced the possibility of 72 years in prison. How many years did he get?
3 minus time served.
12.
Oh, okay.
A little bit higher. From the Knoxville News Sentinel, the Sentinel typically does not identify victims in sexual abuse cases, but Amber Richards chose to speak publicly after the February verdicts. She sat on the opposite side of the courtroom Thursday, joined by a half dozen others, including her biological parents, whom she has reconnected with in recent years. I wanted to throw my body away, Amber said, as she delivered her victim impact statement. Not a day goes by that I don't, in some way, think of what he did to me. I firmly believe if given the opportunity, he would victimize another young girl. And when you put in that in the context of all of the other garbage shit we've talked about tonight, what if he had gotten her pregnant?
Right?
In a state where abortion has been blackballed. Well, this guy has got the means to, hop on a plane and go to,
right,
New York or wherever.
Well, and even, I think about these states that, even though nothing has passed, anybody who goes right now,
yep,
mobs of people, they're going to, it's just so, we need to stop shaming human beings for being human beings. Anyway.
Well, rather than take the appropriate steps to prevent just that, victimizing another young girl, despite prosecutors seeking the maximum 72 years, the judge acknowledged Richard's longtime ministry. He began a Bible study among his fellow inmates while jailed at the Knox County Detention Center, and the support he still receives as mitigating factors. More than 30 people sat on the defendant's side of the courtroom in a show of support, including David Thompson, who shared ministry duties with Richards at My Father's House Church of God in the outskirts of Knoxville, Tennessee. Oh, if my throat wasn't on fire, I would do my hillbilly voice. I find it impossible for me to believe he's guilty of this, said Thompson, who echoed the call for leniency. His business needs him. His family needs him. Our church needs him. As Hemant so correctly notes, he's a convicted child rapist, David. Nobody needs him. But here we are again. Christian privilege wins the day, even with a child rapist. Imagine if this were an imam.
Right.
Or an atheist.
Oh, yeah. Burn him.
Lock him up forever. Yep. Death penalty for all. But a Christian pastor, well, he's just too important. He's special.
God will forgive him. It's okay. There's a meme going around of Jesus in heaven with a little boy on his lap pointing. Oh, look, there's that man who killed you and your family.
Go say hi.
He prayed and God forgave him. Go say hi. Oh.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality, though. All you have to do is repent on your deathbed. And
isn't that so disgusting?
That's horrifying.
All right, you ready to do a Florida man?
Sure.
Well, you know what they say. All the best stories start with Florida man, 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 Florida. And sometimes a Florida woman.
I have bad news for you. I don't have the patron list ready.
Oh, you're so fired. Well, you guys know who you are.
I'm almost there.
All right. Well, I will apologize. I don't know if it was just because I was on a NyQuil hangover or what, but I did not have time or the brain cells to come up with cute little names for these stories. So maybe you guys.
Half the time I don't do that.
You guys can help me out with that.
All right, so let's do the Florida Man, brought to you by our favorite patrons, our top patrons, part-time patron Russell, Sheep, I love sheep. And the official, unofficial patron saint of SarahTalk. Ooh, I love it. Patron saint.
Nice.
That's great.
All right. We'll kick it off with this one. Longwood police responded to a call about a naked man walking around Candyland Park. Officers found Jordan Anderson playing basketball in the buff. When asked what he was doing, he said he was working on his basketball skills. He did put his clothes back on when asked, but was ultimately arrested for indecent exposure of sexual organs. No mention of drugs or alcohol involvement.
Wow. That's fucked up.
Right?
Come on, he had to have something in his system.
I can't, I don't know. Like, there's some weird people in Florida, so maybe not. Or maybe it was just
hot outside. It is.
Maybe he feels free and at his best when he's not held back by clothing. But he was all alone. So I don't know how, like, working on your skills alone, nobody to help you. What?
Okay, so the next story.
All right. Now, I read this one. Holy crap. I can only imagine that 35-year-old Jamie Westcott of St. Petersburg heard last week's story about a woman pulling an alligator from her yoga pants and then said, "Hold my beer." It all started when police were called to a Burger King in Largo. Westcott was snarling and yelling at staff that refused to leave and refused to leave the property. So police were called. She did consent to a search of her person and property at the restaurant, but when deputies felt something hard in her vaginal area, she refused to tell them what she had up there. She was eventually taken to Pinellas County Jail, where she removed 7 syringes from her vagina.
Holy shit. Now listen.
Hi.
I know that some people are into some things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's special.
Well, apparently she did, in the reports, she did randomly say, "I fucked up," when they...
Oh,
when
you
they
think?
Felt it, but then, like, she, after multiple attempts, she just kept refusing to tell them, and they told her, if you bring contraband into the jail, you're going to have additional charges.
Right, yeah.
Better to get it out now, and she just
Christ.
kept refusing. So when they finally got her in jail, she, in front of other officers, I guess, pulled it all out. No word on what was in the syringes, just clear liquid of some sort.
Okay.
Okay, Dan, fine. I'm fired. No more Florida man, then.
Oh. What'd I miss?
He said, "No story names, Becca, you're fired."
David says, you gals have issues with naked people.
No.
Yeah, not really. No.
I find naked people humorous.
I think we should all be free.
No, absolutely.
Anyway.
No issues. Okay, last one.
Okay.
This one kind of annoyed me a little bit towards the end, but that's okay. 36-year-old Shanta Bolds was arrested in Key West and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Prior to arrest, she was sitting on the front porch of the VIP Gentlemen's Club when a man began filming her. The man said Bolds yelled at him and called him names before throwing a coconut at him.
Coconut?
Bold admitted to throwing the coconut at the man, but insisted that it did not hit him. Police told her she was outside of the club and had no expectation of privacy while there. And so they arrested her. Now, the way this read to me was that maybe she worked at the club.
Uh-huh.
And inside of the club, they're not allowed to film, but she was outside, so he thought, oh, well, she's not outside, I can film her, and she was not having it. And I'm sorry, but if I don't care where I'm at or who you are, you can't film me without my permission.
Right.
And if I'm going to throw a coconut at you and go to jail, that's a little messed up.
I'd like to know where the coconut came from.
Well, it's Key West.
Yeah, okay. I thought maybe she pulled it out of her vagina or out of her yoga pants.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. probably all over the place down there, though.
Yeah.
Coconuts.
I don't have a name for that one. I came up with names for the other two.
It's the song about coconuts.
Put the lime in the coconut. Drink it all. Dribbling balls is the one I had for the first one. Something hard in my vagina. Or the coconut story. I don't know what to call that one. What do you think? I think it's got to be the woman with all the sharps.
The syringes,
in her.
really. Yeah.
What makes you think that's a good place to store your stuff? I mean, you're getting jailed or whatever. You're getting arrested.
Right.
You're hiding your.
But you got to know that you're gonna, especially she consented to a search of her person and her.
Yeah.
She had to be under the influence.
I was going to say, was she
totally. Well, they did. The report did say that it seemed like she may have been. That's that has to be the obvious winner.
What's everybody think? Something hard.
I don't know. I'm losing I had to read all these stories, so I got lost in chat.
Well, I'm sorry. Anyway.
Who's DT?
What?
Oh, Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
See, I'm way behind. Okay.
Well, don't catch up live on air.
Yeah, okay.
So hopefully we'll all get over this fucking cold that we've got going on. Next week we have our first meeting for the atheist community.
I'm excited about that.
So that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. And then we have a show that night. So hopefully I'll have time to put a show together.
Dan says, Becca, you may wish to solicit Florida Man stories from listeners. I'll have you know, those are all submitted by listeners.
Yep.
So, y'all just gave me crap to work with this week. Didn't help that I'm sick.
Yeah.
At least you got something this week.
Right? Right. David and I had to pull it out of the air and make it happen last week. And thanks again, David. That
Not voting in protest, Dan.
Oh, Dan.
Fine. Whatever, Dan. We still love you.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the chat with David last week. It was I like David. He's a good guy. And he was willing to, at the last minute, jump on and help me out. I'm going to test. No promises, kids. I'm going to test.
Eventually.
Trying to Skype a call in the stream software so that we could have a guest on Skype and you could see them and hear them. And I got to figure out how to route all of those things. I'm going to be working on that as soon as I get feeling better.
Yeah.
Because I have some ideas.
It's been a rough week.
People I want to talk to and things that I want to.
We've got a lot going on. We're coming at the end of the school year, so I'm going to be crazy. And then we've got this educational meeting. And it just seems like summer is fast approaching. And
all right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode then of SarahTalk.
Sorry.
Thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you to the patrons for patroning. I never thought I'd say this. Thanks, I think, to Pat Robertson. Thanks to Cyrus the Great. And most importantly, thanks to women. Now go out there and smash the fucking patriarchy. You've been listening to SarahTalk.
SarahTalk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. SarahTalk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.